Then come on. Okay. Hello everyone, and welcome to RIX webinar on schools and the use of wikis. And I'm introducing my colleague, Kathryn Stowell, who is a teacher at the Charlton Park Academy and leads on their IT and person-centred planning work. She'll tell more about her role and what she does. And I'm going to hand over to Kathryn to give us the full picture on the use of multimedia advocacy and wikis in schools. So over to you, Kathryn.
Thanks, Andy. Hi, everyone. As Andy said, I work at Charlton Park Academy. It's a very large special secondary school in southeast London. We have about 240 students with a wide range of abilities, from children who have profound and multiple learning difficulties up to some students who are accessing a GCSE in art and BTEC in science. I oversee all the ICT and quite a large communication, a multidisciplinary communications team. And currently I'm working 2 days a week as an advisory teacher for children with speech, language and communication difficulties, with sort of a focus on high-tech devices. We're going to start up a PowerPoint presentation for you now. I'm going to give you sort of an overview right from the beginning, our journey in person-centred planning and the use of wikis. Hopefully, I know some people have sent in some questions. Hopefully we'll answer quite a few of those through the presentation, but at the end there's time for you to send in more questions. So yes,
similarly, keep the comments or queries running through the messaging system as well as we go. Thanks very much. So let's get rolling with the PowerPoint.
Okay. Here.
Yep, up there. Into the screen. Straight down to the PowerPoint there. To onto the presentation.
Okay, so this is Wikis in Education and our journey so far. So if I just explain, I've just told you a bit about our academy, but we are a school that has used multimedia for quite some time. We're very lucky with the range of technology. We are known for our use of technology and our innovation with that. We've got a head teacher who's very keen on us sort of trying things out and seeing how they work. So we do actually have quite a range of different tools within the school because, you know, some work for some groups of students and other things work for others. We've used video for quite a long time for assessment, for recording and for student voice. And we've had an ongoing relationship with the RIX Centre for quite a number of years. So we've been really pleased to try out other projects with them. I think for our person-centred planning and the use of wikis, there was two sort of really key projects that helped us develop and inform how we've moved on. One of them was with our students who use high-tech devices in the school, so we call them our AAC students, and we were a bit concerned about the progress that they were making and how we could best record that and actually increase their progress that they were making. So we decided to take an excerpt from start from the MOVE model, which is Movement Opportunities via Education, and they have an excellent model for developing mobility for students. So we thought, could we adapt that to something similar for our students with AAC? So we called that chat. And part of the MOVE model is that you start with a person-centred plan. You put the person and the family at the centre of it. So we decided to do that with our our students that used AAC, and we used a graphic facilitator to support some person-centred planning meetings, and that really helped us work through some of the person-centred planning tools and decided which ones work best. And just while I'm talking about that, I'm going to bring up, you can see on screen here a screenshot of Harry's wiki. I'm going to bring his wiki up just to show the person-centred plan that we did. So I'll let Andy do that for me.
I don't think we'll update Firefox at this moment. So we're looking at the standard login panel here, aren't we?
Yes.
Would you like to log in?
So the wikis, the students can have their own picture password. And I'm just going to put in. Whoops.
Okay.
Okay. Whoops.
Did you have to redo that password?
I noticed you might have to refresh that whole window.
Okay,
Actually log out of that and log in again. Just if I can point out why Andy's helping me out with that. The wikis are all secure, so the students and families have their own logins to them, and I'm very lucky that a lot of the families have okayed for me to share information with you today, but just to realise that, you know, this is sort of private privileged information, to just be respectful of what we're sharing. Okay. Here we go. So this is Harry's wiki, and we actually have a standard template in the school now that people can start from, but then of course it can be adapted to the different buttons for the different needs of our students. But if I just click on here to Harry's person-centred plan. So we worked with Harry, and to start off with, we did a good day and a bad day for Harry, just so that he understood that, you know, we were having a meeting that was all focused around him and what his thoughts were. And so that was a good way to start with the students, just explaining, you know, helping them share what a good day and a bad day was. He then looked at all the people that worked with him and who he wanted to invite to a meeting. So after he had done that, they all came to the meeting, and we started with the things that we liked and admired about Harry, and he really enjoyed that. And if I just move on a bit here, we created an action plan. And a lot of what Harry was telling us was about his, because it was particularly focused on his communication, was that people didn't really understand how to communicate appropriately with him. They didn't understand the pace and the time that he needed to communicate, and the different, very subtle ways that he communicated. So moving on, using the wiki, we were actually able to put all this information onto the wiki so that Harry could share this very quickly and easily with new people and with those people in school. So I'll just show you a little bit of video of Harry.
I am Harry. I communicate in lots of different ways. I can say a few words, but I also stick my thumb out for no and make a clicking noise for yes. I have a communication book. I need to read through the book, and I will say yes to what I want to say.
So you might have heard that Harry said he sticks his tongue out for a no and makes a clicking noise for a yes. And that's not always very obvious, so we were able to just film these very quickly.
Show me a no, Harry.
So then you've got a clear picture of his communication
Show me
systems.
yes, Harry. Okay?
And his TA filmed this one.
Harry, can you show me your scientist head up, please? There you go. You're touching your eyes.
And that surprised a lot of people. Even the speech language therapist wasn't aware of that sign that he had. So lots of people learned new things about Harry through his person-centred plan and through putting this on the wiki. I'm just going to come out of here and go back to the PowerPoint. Is it escape?
Yeah. We had trouble with this before, didn't we? Right.
So just to carry on while Andy's helping out with the PowerPoint for me. This really helped inform our person-centred planning. It worked out, I mean, we just learned brilliant information. We got great teams working around the students, and their progress really started to improve. So we thought, how do we take some of those models and actually apply them so that we could work with all the students across the school. So I'll share some of the ways that we've adapted that. The other thing that was going on at the same time was that Greenwich was part of Pathfinders and looking at how to use the single plan. So the RIX Centre decided to do a pilot project in the school, and we were really happy to do that. And I'm going to explain about that on the next slide. The other thing I think that was absolutely sort of key was that suddenly there was a new agenda, and so management had a real buy-in to making sort of person-centred planning and self-advocacy for our students work. So I'll just now explain the pilot project with the RIX Centre. So it decided to look at seeing if multimedia tools can really help embed person-centred ways of working. So we chose to work with 12 families, but actually in reality there was about 5 families that ended up being fully engaged. And I think that's quite interesting for us as a secondary school, because it's quite difficult to for families, often they've been very, very involved in, their child's life up until the secondary school. And then, it's about encouraging independence and moving on. So sometimes it can be quite difficult to get our families involved. The project started with training the parents and the professionals that were working with the students, and then for them to then go in and work with the young people. And I think that was another key thing with the project. We learned a lot from that. There was 2 groups. So one was a control group and one was the actual experimental group. And you'll see here the outcomes from the project. There was really great improvement with the experimental group and the involvement in other people in the person-centred planning, which was really brilliant, because that was what was key with our first pilot project with the AAC users, was actually how do we get all those people together. And the wikis were really showing us that they were a great tool for that. Also the awareness of person-centred planning really improved. Well, there was from the control group where there was none.
Major boost.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and then there's the increase in IT skills, and you'll notice that that was actually quite minimal. And I think that's really important to take note of as well, that actually, you don't need great IT skills, that actually, you can get by with what the skills that you actually already have. And you'll see on the side there's some comments, some really great comments from parents and people that were involved in the project. And one of them is from a parent who she decided to do some filming at the weekend of it's actually a grandson who was swimming. She takes him swimming, and they uploaded it to the wiki and then brought it into school, and suddenly the school staff were like, oh, we didn't know he could swim out of depth. He'd been swimming in a hydrotherapy pool, and they were thinking, oh, he's got to be, where he can stand up. So suddenly, there was sharing of information and people learning things about each other. So just... Sorry. So from the pilot project, that was really key to our future developments as well, because we were really looking and learning about who took ownership of the wiki. And by training the parents and the professionals first, it became quite apparent that the adults were really taking the ownership. We had one or two situations where we were also supporting people to think about how we actually portray information on the wikis. And one family were quite concerned about someone that was moving on to a residential provision and making sure that they got the funding and the money to really support that person. So I was looking on how do we put information that shows how to best support somebody. It also really highlighted that it's a really fantastic tool and a great end product, and everyone gets really excited when they see it. But actually what has the real value is the process, and involving people to take, to share ownership in the process. So from there, we moved into our whole school project, and to begin with, we thought, what's our vision for the wikis? And these are our three key points on our vision. So we really wanted to empower every student, no matter their abilities. So really looking at all our students right across the school and how they could be empowered to have their own voice. For the student and every person around them to focus on their individual priorities and curriculum and future. And also to use this approach to enable students to bring together family members, friends, key services in order to review progress and plan for the immediate and long-term future. I think our learning from doing the person-centred planning with the children who have AAC was that by bringing all the professionals together, we actually really changed our focus. We were really looking at future, not just what was happening in the here and now in the curriculum in the school and their learning, but actually about their independence and life skills and their plan for the future. So how we started was that we were a school that was also working on achievement for all to raise the standards of the students in the school. So we decided to link those two things together because achievement for all has person-centred conversation. So we linked those two things and decided to ensure that we were using the same language for both of them. So there was one message for our parents. We also decided that every student in the school would have a wiki, and that this was integrated as a school tool. So we decided that there would be no separate permissions on using media for the students. All our students and families sign permission letters when they come into school about whether they want images and video shared only within school or in newsletters and websites. But we've made the decision that there's no separate permission for the wikis. Parents are informed that we use wikis, that they are secure, that we work with our students on e-safety. We have policies to ensure that we keep everyone as safe as possible. So that's just part and parcel of what we do in the school. We also decided for the first year to put person-centred planning into the curriculum. So all the students have had one lesson a week that was on person-centred planning, and we were very focused on trying to keep it person-centred and led by the students. We also had the students having a particular focus in their ICT lessons on teaching the wiki skills. And so what they would do is that they would have their person-centred planning sessions, and they would bring that information to their ICT lessons, and then we would look and support to upload. They very quickly became integrated, so one would happen in the other and vice versa. Also, the teaching of the skills didn't take very long at all. The students picked that up quite quickly. So what we were able to do then was to look at inviting parents and professionals. We helped the students plan who was in their circles of support, and then we used IT to write letters to those people to invite them into the lessons, and then the students taught those people how to use their wiki. And I think that's another thing that was a really great outcome from our initial startup, was that actually it meant that our students were taking ownership, and it sort of swapped those two roles. We had students teaching other students. We also looked at small pilot groups. So we tried different teaching and lesson plans to look at how we might work with the different groups within our school. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. We incorporated things into our parents' evenings, and we offered separate training sessions to our parents. I'll explain a bit more about parent involvement as well. We also did lots of publicity, and we continue to. We put things on our website. We normally put an article in our newsletter. We run an annual event called Communication Works, and we involve information about the wikis. We run presentations there, and we produce publications. So we're constantly showing the benefits and sharing stories, positive stories about the wikis in school. We've now moved on after our first year. Now we don't have separate lessons. We have the person-centred planning and the wikis is all now integrated into communication sessions and independent living skills lessons. So working with the parents, what we do is that for the families that are coming into the academy, we introduce them the term prior to them starting at the academy. We introduce them and show them that we use wikis in the school. Where we can, we actually offer them an account, and we encourage them to upload and put information onto the wikis so that we can use it for transition. We've tried working with our partners where the children are coming from, and we've had some successes and not so, that's an ongoing thing for us. We have a range of training sessions, so we offer some individual training sessions, but mostly it's integrated into coffee mornings. So we invite parents into coffee mornings, and the students will be sharing their wikis, and we'll be also training them and showing them how to use it. So they might have a little activity that they do to upload pictures or videos. We have professionals that are sharing and working through the wikis, so particularly our speech language therapists use it to upload video and then share it with home and vice versa. And we have our structured conversations with the Achievement for All and the person-centred conversations are all centred around the wikis. So you'll see on screen there's a screenshot that helps the students plan their circles of support. So this helps them then think about who they need to involve in developing their wiki. So we then have our parents' evenings, which we use a number of templates as well, which all came from the work that we initially did with our students with AAC. So we start with the circles of support. We do what do we like and admire. We then go on to what's working well, what's not working, and we might have some actions from that. We also have my progress at school and the learning IEP targets, which is something that it comes out of the parents' evening, and then who will help me achieve these. So of course, for some of our students that have had a wiki for 2 or 3 years now, some of those things are just refreshed. So you might start from the beginning, or you're just actually updating information. And often the parents' evening is more about sharing the progress and achievements and the next steps. Just move to the next slide. So I thought I'd just share a little bit more information about how we worked with our different groups of students. So we really have sort of 3 main areas of the school. So we have students with complex needs, and I mean, they had a whole range of activities and lessons and developments. They were able to really get involved in the planning and the development, building their own self-advocacy skills. They did lots of filming other people, so they would identify their strengths and subjects and often film that teacher a little message about their progress or their strengths. They created portfolios of their work, and they were also able to teach other professionals and parents and students. And it was great for me actually, because a lot of the lessons were led by the students. So I was just their supporter. They actually, we had students that would lead from the whiteboard and they would teach the other students. And there was some really lovely engagements between some of our younger students teaching some of our older students, and also across the school. And then we had our students with autism, and that was really interesting. Some of the pilot lessons we did with those students, found that it really enabled social interaction and the ability to talk about themselves. It's really fantastic. Often communication for those students is about requesting or just choice making, where this actually helps them to develop their communication around expressing themselves and sharing information, and just widening their ability to communicate.
Just to chip in, we've really noticed that people on the autistic spectrum, they really appreciate the extra structure that the wiki provides. So it provides a platform for communication that makes them step up in ways that often surprise teachers or supporters.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. And I think creating a positive self-image has been really great as well. For within our school, that's not only for themselves, but actually within the school. Often, different groups find it difficult seeing how other people interact, and when you can use the wikis to actually share really positive film and images, then it really helps with their self-image. I've taken students to speak with me at different conferences. And one student, he came with me, and when you first meet him, often he has difficulty understanding personal space, and so it can be challenging for him to interact. But when he presented at the conference and showed video of the things that he liked and how he enjoyed music, suddenly people had a way to actually interact with him and start a conversation that was about him and his interests, and it really helped him engage with everyone there. And also it was interesting just working with parents, because when we invited the parents into school and into their lessons, that was actually very challenging to begin with, because it was out of routine and out of their structure. But actually, after a few weeks, everyone, became used to it, and there was some really lovely opportunities for parents to share information about their child, and for us to put that onto the wiki, and it became a really positive experience for everyone. And then we had our students with profound and multiple difficulties, and that really, we worked with those students around sort of engaging with their own self-image, and sort of simple choice making, and looking at being able to film things that they really enjoyed, and then putting that onto the wiki as a way of viewing and sharing it. And I found with those students, it was really great using some other apps and software to look at, drawing over their image and putting it into music, and ways of really engaging them. And then we've also found that using the wikis across the curriculum, there's been lots of different ways of using it. And I emailed out to staff to say, would anyone like to share any stories or successes about using the wikis? And Joanna here sent this message back about how they're using the wikis to make notes about their independent living skills, and that they use it at the beginning of a lesson to recap on the activity. And it really encourages the student participation and engagement in the lessons. I think it's really great for reinforcing teaching and learning, and a way of sharing some of their work. So you'll see on screen here, there's a little crazy talk video where the students recorded their own voice in a little animation that they were then able to upload to their wiki, and they're extremely proud of showing that off to other people. As I just said previously, it's really great for developing communication, really nice for telling their own story and sharing developments. You'll see there that someone's got a clip about sharing their Lego therapy. So we've got lots of other uses throughout the curriculum that the wikis are being used. And then I just thought I'd share some of the other sort of academy-wide uses. So of course we've got our annual reviews, which are now the education and healthcare plans, and the wikis have always been used as the student's voice in those meetings. So the meetings start with the student showing 1 or 2 clips of their achievements and things that they've achieved over the year. It's really great for involving the extended family as well. So, families who want to involve siblings in saying what they would like for their brother or sister. Our residential had a really nice project where they put the student handbook onto a wiki. So for other students who are thinking about staying in the residential provision, they can go on and see a really nice accessible way of looking at short clips of what they do in the residential provision and where they live and that sort of thing. We've also a project working on to share between the different provisions and respite services that the students are using, and which is really great for our looked after children. Transition is really a great tool for transition. So that's both our students moving into the school, but also moving on from the school.
That's great, because Gareth asked a question about that. And, like a lot of people, he's seen immediately the application for transition being a real natural fit for wikis.
Yeah, I think it's not only the transition sort of moving in and out of school, but actually for each year group. So like this term now is a real focus for us in looking at building the wikis with the essential information for the students transitioning into the next class. Also, I think that's really great for staff changes. So when we've got staff changes in a classroom, they can log on to the wiki and get information. I mean, the transition's quite an interesting one for us because at the moment we still oversee the wikis for the students that have moved on. We're looking at long term, how we hand that over, and also how we monitor and support the students after they leave the school. So who's, if there's not a family member to take ownership, who takes ownership?
Yeah, it's really crucial, isn't it? And we recognise very quickly with wikis that we've got to make sure that there's an easy transfer of ownership from the school. In your case, teachers have been declared as the wiki keeper, if you like, and you've bought in, but parents then have the opportunity to sign up very cheaply to having wiki subscription, and we just at a very straightforward process can transfer the ownership from the school to the family, or to a college, or to a supported employer or community setting. So there's a real ease of use for wikis to travel with the individuals, and I think that's really crucial, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And then we have a number of shared wikis that are shared by professionals. So we've got the communication team have a wiki that includes information about all the different communication systems in the school, also for BSL and the VI teams, also for the move. So for new staff that come into school, they can log on and learn about the MOVE program, how it works, also look at some of the students and what programs they're working on. We have class cluster teams, and each cluster has a wiki for sharing best practice and for professional development. So they have meetings where they'll use the wiki, maybe someone's uploaded a video of something new that they've tried. So as a professional group, they can look at it. And we've got other professionals that are, they're asking for wikis to be able to share information. I think what's key is that the wikis are very easy, quick way of accessible way of sharing information. It's, because the key is using the multimedia, so using the image and the video, and the documents come afterwards. So, you learn so much from a minute's piece of video compared to reading, a big lengthy document. I've just put on there the school nurse. A really nice project that happened was the school nurse, you can see there at the bottom, she came in and the students taught her how to use the wiki, and then some time afterwards she was looking at trying to make the care plans for students that have medication more accessible, and came up with the idea of putting them onto the wikis with them. So they would say, who they like to give their medication, how they liked it, and various information about their care plan. So it was a really sort of nice project that happened. And all the time people are coming up with different creative ideas that they want to be able to use the wikis, and it's really for that collaboration between different people. Just move on to our learning. So what did we learn? We learned that it is about the process. It is about how we actually develop, engage people, and make sure that we get the teams working together. It's a tool, but it's a really brilliant one. It's accessible. It really encourages communication. It engages students with their interests at their level, which I think is really, really key. It's an anytime, anywhere. We use mobile devices. You can use You know, we use standalone computers, but we have a lot of iPads in the school and tablets, and so it's great. You know, they can take it to a PE lesson, record a little bit of video and upload it straight to their wiki. It really helps them reinforce students' learning, celebrating achievements, and a transition there. I think it really helps with time constraints. One of the, you know, right from that beginning project when we did the lovely graphic facilitation and wanted to bring teams together, I think, you know, the wiki is a really great tool for that. We can have an example is Harry that you saw in the beginning. He has some new guidelines which have been changing quite regularly for his eating and drinking, and what it means is that the speech language therapist can record a small clip, a minute or two, put it on his wiki. She can then just email the class, the residential provision, home, and say, I've added a new clip, have a look, this is his new guidelines, rather than actually having to take the time to go to the residential provision, train the staff, go to the class, and go home. So it is helping with time constraints. It's an ongoing journey. We've always got a continuing development plan to move forward. We have lots of staff changes, and we get varying buy-in from different professionals within the school. So we're continually looking at keeping it high on the agenda, supporting people. We have 2 or 3 non-class based staff that can support at times when classes need to. So yeah, we're always sort of looking at how we're moving forward with the project. And just finally, sort of got here some of the future vision. We are keen to look at how we provide one-to-one devices for our students. We'd really like it integrated throughout the whole school day, so it's just a natural part of recording throughout the school day. The transition, the continuing support, as I mentioned before, just how the monitoring and security and beyond school, and how we better sort of support the people that the students are moving on to, so they can continue to work with the wikis and person-centred planning. Fully integrated within the education and healthcare plans, and I think Andy might be able to share. I know there's updates to the wikis that will make that.
Sure, yeah, it'd be good to share that in a minute.
Yeah. And you know, to continue to build relationships with our families and build the teams and the person-centred approaches. Greater involvement from our professionals. We have, you know, some that are really engaged and others that we can involve in a greater way. We want, yeah, more champions and ongoing training, and you know, just to keep using a really great tool. So yeah, that sort of brings the presentation to an end.
Oh, that's great, and there's so that means we can open up to any questions. We've had a few coming through. I'd like to just fire one at you, because Gareth Excel has asked whether any of the parents that you were kind of training up rejected it, you know, on grounds of safety or caution about that sort of issue.
We haven't actually had anyone reject it. We've had people, or parents, that have not really bought into it as other families, and we've acknowledged that that might happen and that we might have families that aren't, and so that doesn't stop what we do within the school. So, you know, we might ask them to, you know, send in some photos or messages, but they, you know, aren't as involved in actually putting information from home. So we do have families that are happy that we're doing it, but they're not involved with putting information.
Yeah, good. Good. I mean, another point that I do recall having a call from you probably about a year ago, when one individual had gone into Wiki and used it to kind of insult another individual in the class. And what I've just posted up on the text here is that, in a way, for us, we saw that as a good opportunity for you to tackle issues of, like, people being trolls, people using the internet inappropriately, insulting people, how that makes you feel, bullying, cyberbullying, etc. And our view, and we've seen this happen in several occasions, is that the wikis, because they're password protected, and yet there's a very contained social network, because you can share it using the invite feature selectively, you've got a tool there for us to teach safe web use and tackle those issues. Have you found it useful for that?
Yeah, definitely. I think that incident sort of taught us a bit, actually, because it was more about the security of keeping the usernames and passwords private. We had sort of shared them openly within a class, but of course when you work with some students who visually pick up information very quickly and can store it, then that's what they've done. They've stored in their memory the username and passwords. So we've kept, that just taught us a lesson. But I think in terms of e-safety, also we've got quite clear procedure for e-safety. All the students have a home school book, and that is in the front, a signed agreement with students and families in the front of their home school books. And the students are very aware, they are taught about the respect and sharing of different information on others' wikis, and there's consequences for any sort of inappropriate things and procedures. So I think we have, we've got very good procedures and things, and that really helps to have them in place. Because you are working with an online tool that is secure, but students and young people will try and get around things.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, this is a constant discussion point with interested schools, parents, etc. This and data protection, which I'd like to just raise as well. I think the crucial thing is that we've been on a big journey with wiki use. We've been through 4 or 5 different versions, and we've got a new version coming out shortly. Each version has refined the features so that we can really reinforce and continue to improve the e-safety and just the ease of use in a safe way. And we've been really pleased with that. It's had to go through the mill with because we've sold it not just to schools who ask difficult questions, which are very appropriate questions, but also local authorities. And we've really benefited from that kind of co-production relationship where local authorities have put it through their information governance people, through their IT people. And we've been able to have a full conversation discussion with those parties to make sure that we're ticking all of their boxes and there aren't any weaknesses in the system. But additionally, they've helped us devise the shopping list. Back in the days when we were going from version 1 to 2, 2 to 3, we were able to work with information governance specialists from local authorities to really nail down our systems, and they helped us get them to a point where everyone felt comfortable with its use. And the big point, sorry, just to tell this, is that we think that there's a real risk of digital exclusion being a feature for people already experiencing so many other forms of exclusion. We recognise that as vulnerable young people, there are special concerns about the risks of using the internet, etc. But also, we also recognise that when young people get their hands on wikis, part of what they really enjoy is it's a bit like Facebook, or it's a bit like WhatsApp, and so on. So the real positive is that this system enables you to grapple with all those issues, but in a safe environment, in a contained way, in a controlled way, in a way in which you also, where you've got multiple accounts in a school, have a dashboard through which you can see who's using it when, and turn wikis off if there's any issue at a stroke, and where there's a report button at the bottom of the software as well. So there are various features written in. Good. Could I ask you to just talk briefly about the invite feature and how that works? Would you mind?
Yeah, sure. So
while you're doing so, I could bring up the model wiki to show that.
So the wikis have an invite button on them. So young people and families or school staff can choose to share a wiki with other people for any period of time. So basically you will invite them, send a message to their email, and they will, there's the invite button.
There's the invite button, I'm just clicking now, and I can add an email here. Would you put your email in just a moment? So the idea is that we can, the sharing is strictly selective, and Kathryn, when I press invite here, will be sent an email which explains that she's been invited to look at a wiki. She obviously can't edit it, she can only look at it. I'll press invite, and then I'll give her a ring and say, okay, did you see that bit where I talked about my, what I'm working on with improving my maths? And she'll say, yeah, that was really interesting, blah, blah, blah. And I'll say, okay, I'm going to remove you now. And she gets sent an email saying she's been removed. So Kathryn had that window of opportunity to look at my wiki. So I'm controlling that. And what I just wanted to add is that the new version of the wiki, which we're releasing a beta version next month, and we're going to have up and running fully towards the end of the summer, will have additional to this the option that you can invite somebody just to see one section of your wiki. In other words, one of those round buttons. And additionally, when I invite you, it won't, in the first instance, share any of the documents I've attached, just in case that, I would choose not to. I can then select which documents I would like to share that are attached to pages on the wiki. So it gives me total control, but also the default is that I am not sharing any potentially information that I just don't want you to see. I'm not calling it sensitive information because it's important that the individual who attaches documents considers sensitive information not really appropriate for sharing in wikis. And that's something that we teach throughout. Having said that, I need to really emphasize that a lot of parents have been very enthusiastic about having wikis that have on the top level a very accessible, picture-driven, video-driven account of an individual's life and what they're all about. And attached below that, all of those documents and papers that you end up piling up in your drawer at home, or in the extension you've had to build on your house, especially to house all those documents. Parents have said it's fantastic. I can send people a site of the wiki before the meeting. There's the attached documents we need to look at. They look at it, and I'm not having to photocopy stuff and share it with them, send it in the mail, or turn up a meeting and found out that no one's done the briefing beforehand. So this is a very valuable feature of wiki use. Okay, I'm just looking at other questions.
I think, you
coming
know,
through.
having the wikis to share at meetings is really fantastic, because you're showing small video clips, and so many times I've had stories where people have either families have not believed what the children or students in the school can do, and vice versa, seeing information shared from home to in school. And you know, it is amazing what a minute's piece of video can convey. Yeah, rather than sitting around with documents. And often, you know, like transition workers will come to, you know, talk to families about transition options, and they've never actually met the children or the students. So by them coming to the meeting and showing 1 or 2 clips of video, then, you know, they've got a really good picture idea.
Yeah. Well, the picture is 1,000 words, isn't it? And so on. So a video must be millions. Sorry, that's a bit clever that. What I'd like to add though is that there's some question here from some of our guests about whether you can create a classroom page or a whole college page where you can share bits to and from each of the individual wikis with the page. That sounds quite wiki complex to me. I think in practice what we end up doing is making individual wikis on the one hand and making shared wikis on the other. And this is why schools will start by saying, oh, we've got 30 kids, let's get 30 wikis. But then they'll soon want 50, because actually they then want a wiki for the class to work on together, and so on. And there's nothing to stop you linking between wikis. But generally, those individual wikis are not going to be public. They are going to be password protected. The only way to share is going to be through that invite feature we looked at earlier. There are exceptions. There's been some great wiki builders who've elected to go public. And if you go to our website, AJ's website is a really great example for that, isn't it? Where he's made a personal wiki, but then ultimately he's used it to share with other people his lessons about independent living and things like that. And typically, yeah, a class that's adopted wikis will also want to make some shared wikis. But that piece where you simply, you know, get one wiki and mix up who sees which, and which is shared by the class and which is individual. The simplest way to manage that, I'd argue, is separate wikis. Wouldn't you agree, Kathryn?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're great as a professional, as I was saying earlier about professional development tool and sharing. But you know, I guess the idea is that, you know, they are a person-centered planning tool in the first place. So you know, they're set up for individuals.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I notice it's 3 o'clock now, so I'd just like to wrap up there. Please keep questions coming though. Please either use RIX admin address on our website to come back with questions, contact us directly, but also please go to our website to see more details, and that's the www.rixmedia.org. And I would like to make a big plug for the 2 sessions we've got coming up, which include Kathryn alongside some other teachers and practitioners from schools and organisations, where we're going to have a real experience sharing session around use of wikis in learning. And there's 2 sessions. You could do a morning session or an afternoon. They're on the 3rd of June and then the 8th of July. And you can sign up for those sessions, which are to be held here at the RIX base at University of East London's Docklands campus. So please do get in touch. The wiki packages are available from schools. You can see the prices again online as well. And please just get in touch with us if you're interested, express your interest, share your thoughts and ideas, and by all means, place your order so we can get wikis running with you in your schools, get some training up before the summer, a bit of practice over the summer, and maybe rolling out in your first classes next September. we'd really enjoy that. We learn so much from people like Kathryn. That's how we've got to be expert in multimedia advocacy. So a very big thank you, Kathryn, for doing our webinar today. And thanks everybody for attending and for those useful questions. I'll be just rounding up with any further questions on the text, so we'll keep this open for a little while. But otherwise, thanks everybody for attending, and let us know how was it for you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, cheers everybody.
Okay, thank you.